All right, folks. Buckle up because we're diving headfirst into a time machine, this time with the Regional Renaissance Reporter.
Oh, this is a fun one. Should be interesting.
This magazine from way back in 2004 is like a backstage pass to the Midwest Renaissance scene.
Yeah, really gives you a feel for the community.
We're talking more than just your turkey legs and jousting here. This is about the passion, the dedication.
The authenticity.
Exactly. It's fascinating to see how these events took root, not just on the coasts, but right here in the heartland.
Right. And this magazine, it was their way of putting the Midwest Renaissance scene on the map. You know, they wanted to share these stories, the talent, the creativity.
And it all started with one guy, Gregory Schmidt. Talk about a Renaissance man.
He seemed to do it all. Founded this magazine, ran his own festival production company.
Festivals International. They were behind some of the biggest events in the region.
And he even found time to consult. Helped other folks launch their own Renaissance festivals. The guy was passionate, that's for sure.
Passionate and a savvy businessman, it seems. But let's get back to the magazine itself. One thing that really struck me was the level of detail they went into.
You mean like behind-the-scenes stuff?
Exactly. For instance, who knew there were heated debates about merchant booths?
Wait, really? What's so controversial about a booth?
Apparently it's all about authenticity. Some folks believe those modern pop-up tents just don't cut it.
They wanted to maintain the illusion, make it feel like you're stepping back in time?
Precisely. And the magazine, it's full of tips on how to achieve that, even with a limited budget.
Camouflage techniques, clever designs, you name it. They were dedicated to creating an immersive experience, down to the very last detail.
And that's what's so fascinating, isn't it? The lengths they went to transport people to another time and place.
It really speaks to the passion of this community.
It does. And you know what? This is just the tip of the iceberg. We've got so much more to uncover, from the Prince and Princess contest to the history of cookies.
Oh yeah, trust me, you don't want to miss this.
Stay tuned, folks, because this deep dive is about to get even more interesting. Okay, so you won't believe this, but they had this whole Prince and Princess contest thing going on.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
Oh.
It wasn't your typical beauty pageant, though.
Right. They were looking for folks who embodied the Renaissance spirit.
Some even created historical personas. The dedication was impressive.
And the prize. Free passes to festivals, international events, naturally.
Figures, but this is what really blew my mind.
Yeah.
There's an entire article on the history of cookies.
Cookies. Seriously.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Tell me more.
Well, back then, cookies weren't just for snacking. They were like edible symbols.
Symbols?
Yeah, different shapes and decorations had meanings. They even used them to tell stories.
Wow, that's incredible. Never thought of cookies like that.
It makes you look at those gingerbread men a little differently, huh?
It really does. But it wasn't all fun and games at these festivals. This magazine, it also gives a peek into the business side of things, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Running a successful booth or a show took some real business acumen.
Speaking of shows, there was this interview with a performer from a pirate comedy show.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Something about their name causing trouble.
Yeah, something about truth in advertising laws in Ohio. They had to change it.
Shows you the kind of legal hoops these folks had to jump through.
It does. But let's not forget the artisans. This magazine, it had a whole section dedicated to them.
Vendor views, right?
That's the one. Remember Mistress Felicity Biggins, the hat maker?
Oh, how could I forget? What a character. Turned her passion into a full-fledged business.
She started small, making hats for friends, and then boom, demand just exploded.
She even included a chart, like a whole breakdown of Renaissance hat styles.
Talk about attention to detail. It makes you wonder if fashion back then was as complex as it is today.
Oh, absolutely. Clothing was like a social signifier. Hats especially, they told a story.
It's amazing how much we can learn from these seemingly small details.
It's like piecing together a puzzle, each detail revealing a little more about the past.
And this magazine, it does a brilliant job of connecting all those pieces.
Bringing the Renaissance to life, not just as a historical period, but as a lived experience.
We've gone way beyond turkey legs and jousting, haven't we?
We've barely scratched the surface. There's this whole other layer to explore, a more philosophical side to this Renaissance movement.
You know, this regional Renaissance reporter, it wasn't afraid to get philosophical. Like, there's this one article, Thinking in Renaissance Terms.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
And Gregory Schmidt, he really challenges the reader to think beyond the typical Ren Fair experience.
You wanted people to engage with the intellectual side of the Renaissance.
Exactly. He talks about the creativity, the scientific inquiry, the whole spirit of that era.
Like, these weren't just historical figures, they were revolutionaries.
He mentions Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo.
Yeah, they were pushing boundaries, changing the world with their ideas.
And Schmidt, he sees a parallel to our own time. This age of technology, information overload.
He's asking, how can we tap into that same Renaissance spirit today? How can we use it to navigate these changes?
It's a really interesting question. And he even criticizes some festivals for, sticking to those stereotypical
Right,
tropes.
like where's the intellectual depth?
Exactly. He argues for a more balanced approach.
Imagine, alongside the jousting and the crafts,
Yeah.
you could attend a lecture on Renaissance astronomy.
Or a workshop on Da Vinci's inventions.
Right. It's about making history come alive in a new way.
And that's what's so exciting about this whole Renaissance festival movement, isn't it? It's not just about escaping reality.
It's about connecting with the past, but also finding inspiration for the present.
Exactly. And this regional Renaissance reporter, it captures that spirit perfectly. It's a time capsule of passion, dedication, and this genuine desire to bring history to life.
It's a reminder that history isn't just dates and battles in a textbook.
It's about real people, their lives, their stories.
And these festivals, they offer us a tangible connection to that.
Well said. So, the next time you're at a Ren Fair, take a moment to appreciate all those layers, the history, the artistry, the passion,
Look beyond the costumes and the spectacles.
because you might just find yourself inspired.
You might even discover a hidden talent for calligraphy or blacksmithing.
Who knows? But one thing's for sure, this deep dive into the regional Renaissance reporter has definitely given us a whole new perspective on this fascinating world.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time for me to go find some of those historical cookie recipes.
I'm right there with you. Thanks for listening, everyone.